This one here that we're gonna play
This
is like stupid new. Alright? Just stupid new. We're just gonna play it because what the hell, why not, right?
Right.
You guys wanna hear a stupid ass new song, right?
Yeah.
Cool. It's a little different, but it's fun.
Hey. Yeah.
There's a man who leads a life of danger. To everyone he meets, he stays a stranger. With every move he makes, another chance he takes, odds are he won't live to see tomorrow. Secret agent man, secret agent man, they've given you a number and taken away your name. There are pretty faces that you find. A pretty face can hide an evil mind. Oh, be careful what you say, or you'll give yourself away. Odds are you won't live to see tomorrow. Secret agent man, secret agent man, they've given you a number and taken away your name. same persuasive lips. Odds are you won't live to see tomorrow. Secret agent man, secret agent man. They've given you a number and taken away your name. Is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. The race cars, lasers, aeroplanes. It's a duck blur. Might solve the mystery or rewrite history. DuckTales. Ooh. Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Ooh. Tales of daring, do bad and good luck tales. Danger, watch behind you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do? Just grab onto some DuckTales. Woo. Every day they're out there making DuckTales. Woo. Tales of daring, do bad and good luck tales. Woo. Not ponytails or cottontails, no DuckTales. Woo.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the latest episode of I'm No Joe, your home for all things combat sports, and the place where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. The views and opinions presented on the I'm No Joe channel belong solely to the person expressing them, no one else. If we say it, that means we meant it. That being said, this show does contain adult themes, adult content, and general shit that you shouldn't be letting your kids intake. Be advised, viewer discretion is recommended. Proceed at your own risk. You've been warned. We could be. We might be. We appear to be. We are live. Live, ladies and gentlemen, here on the I'm No Joe YouTube channel. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a panel full of finally facially follicle folks and RJ here to break down the first official UFC pay-per-view of 2021. Ironically enough, headlined by the same celebrity who headlined the first pay-per-view of 2021, notorious Conor McGregor. So before we get into that, I do want to take just a moment here to check in on the fine folks and let you wonderful people know, as has been told to me by folks smarter than myself, where you can find the shenanigans we get up to before we get into the shenanigans we get up to. So for those of you who have not figured it out yet somehow, we are on basically all social media platforms. You can catch us on Facebook at I'm No Joe. We're on Instagram at I'm No Joe. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can also get the Instagram influencer level facial free all audio version of the show on your podcast consuming platform of choice through anchor.fm/I'm No Joe. If you're listening to this, then you clearly already know about that. And you can also see how fucking ridiculous we look when we do the show live on Thursday nights on YouTube at I'm No Joe. And if for some reason you enjoy the shit we get up to enough to support the craziness we get up to around here, patreon.com/I'm No Joe gives you access to behind the scenes things, get your name thrown down in a thank you section, and get you access to stuff that we just flat out can't put on YouTube. So we do appreciate everybody that supports, whether you were here in the chat, whether you were in the Patreon, either way it goes. Thank you very much. So that being said, we've got the new kid here. He's fuzzing up. He's trying so hard. How you doing, RJ?
Fucking trying, man. Fucking trying. Doing pretty good. Very excited about this weekend's card. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
it's gonna come in
And then
eventually.
yeah, well, we keep
Like
saying
20
that.
years from now,
Yeah,
it'll
yeah,
come
well,
in.
yeah. I think I can. And then across from RJ, we've got the holder of the coveted purple strap, the freshest guest a man could ask for, Mr. Fresh03 himself. How you doing, sir?
Still got spaghetti in my teeth.
There are worse things to have there.
Yes, much worse. Doing well otherwise. How are you?
Oh, I'm good so far this evening, getting ready to get into all the shenanigans we have got up for this weekend. Oh my goodness.
There's quite a few.
Oh, we've got plenty to talk about.
Okay.
So, across the octagon from myself, more often than not, my Wednesday night compatriot on the cloudy bunker, my combat shit talking homeboy himself, Mr. Golf T. How you doing, brother?
Another lovely fucking day in paradise. One day closer to the weekend. One day closer to our first paid per view of 2021. We got to be moving in the right direction. If we're not, there's a fucking problem because Conor McGregor's leading the way, and that's going to be kind of weird.
Right? I mean, when you kick off with Conor McGregor, it can't really go worse. Like, if that's your baseline, your year is just going to be skyrockets.
Fuck, if the last two cards that we've had to begin the year off with are any inkling of what's to come this year, we're in for nothing but good things. And I hope those have set the tone for what goes forward throughout the year.
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. We have definitely been treated to some loveliness so far, kicking off 2021. And it looks like the pay-per-view that's going to start the season off is going to be no different. So before we jump into straight UFC 257 talk, there is just a tiny little bit of news and a couple of announcements here I do want to go over before we get into the full-on breakdowns here. The first thing that I want to talk about has kind of been glanced over by most of the fight media in the last week. It kind of culminated over the last couple days, but it's just not really getting the focus that I feel that it genuinely deserves here. What I'm referring to is Dana White pretending to be Khabib Nurmagomedov. Now, for those of you who follow MMA journalism and UFC in general, we're almost used to, at this point, Ali Abdelaziz pretending to be Khabib and taking over his Twitter account and talking mad shit in vernacular and phrasing that you clearly know is not Khabib saying things. But we've kind of reached a new echelon of bullshittery, if you will, in that we knew that there was going to be a meeting in Abu Dhabi with Dana White and Khabib, with Dana literally attempting to beg and plead Khabib to come back for one more fight. Khabib stating, I think 4 times now since he officially retired in the ring, that he is fucking retired. But Dana, just for whatever fucking reason, can't get A to B without getting lost in translation. So after their meeting, Dana came out and said that Khabib said, and I quote, "Impress me and I'll come back," which we have subsequently found out is literal paraphrasing bullshit. That is 100% Dana White putting words in Khabib Nurmagomedov's mouth. We know this because after he was at the fights Wednesday night, Wednesday morning, I should say, Wednesday night for them, he turned around and did an interview live with a Russian news organization, a Russian sports news organization, where he quite literally told them, I am retired. I told the UFC that I am retired. I have no urge, no instinct, no craving anymore to compete as a fighter. I'm focusing on promotion now. Besides, Why would you want me to break a promise to my mother? This is quite literally what we had said initially, is that if the hill that Khabib is going to die on is that he is a man of his word, that he is a man of morals, and that this whole thing was he and his father's dream, and that when his father died, he promised his mother he would finish the fight that they started, and that was it, and that his morals and his honor would not let him come back after that because he's a man of his word. This is the hill that he's prepared to die on. This is why he got so upset at the Conor situation, because Conor insulted his word, his honor, and that's why he had to take that so personally. So when he said that he made a promise to his mother that he's done after the Gaethje fight, those of us who wanted to believe him, to give him the benefit of the doubt that he is this man of honor, that his morals mean something, that when he gives you his word, it has value. We assumed he's done. This isn't a Henry Cejudo situation. This isn't a GSP, I'll be back in 2 years to take the belt of the next division up situation. This is a man who literally chose morals and honor as the hill he's going to die on, telling you flat out he has made a promise to his mother. He's done with this. So we took it at face value, like most people, I'm assuming, did. And then Dana White just whitewashed and spun dry Khabib, reinforcing that point to him in an attempt to try and get the top lightweights to jump through the fucking hoop to try and get a better show, to try and hype up a pay-per-view that already has more than enough hype on its own, just based on its merits. An extra 20,000, maybe 50,000 pay-per-view buys because they jacked the price of the pay-per-view up again. We know for a fact, Khabib has said now, no less than a half a dozen times, he's done. He's retired. And I get that Dana really wants to just hang on to this cash cow that he's found and try and whip this into Khabib Conor 2, because that's what Conor has been vocally saying since the first one ended, like we all knew he was going to. But Khabib has made it very clear. There's no interest in that. There's no interest in the GSP fight, which is what he originally said he wanted his 30th fight to be. If his dream fight isn't going to get him to unretire, a fight that you're trying to force or trick him into, sure the fuck should not. So on one hand, I do have to give my hat off to Khabib for standing on the hill that he has said that he was going to die on. On the other hand, this just makes it 10 times more important, for me at least, for the very hardcore fans of the UFC to give a very prominent and vocal fuck you back to Dana for openly trying to manipulate people who care about this sport for a little more financial gain on his own end. No hardcore fan, no one that I associate with regularly in the world of MMA, no one on this panel, I'm sure, had any doubt that Khabib saying he was retired on the promise to his mother was going to lure him back for the McGregor rematch. So for Dana to play this game like we're all that stupid, it's not just a greedy asshole move, it's insulting the intelligence of the fans. That's bullshit. That's my biggest problem with it.
That's part of the big problem there. I will agree with you on that. And yes, as much as most of us are up here not the biggest fan of Khabib, am I impressed with what he was able to accomplish? Fuck yes.
Exactly.
And he did it in a phenomenal fashion, something very dominant. If there's one thing we've learned about him over the course of his UFC tenure, if he says he makes a promise to do something, that promise stands. He promised he would break Conor, and he did break Conor. We watched it happen. There was plenty of other things that he did, but also with his background, from where he's at in the world, his religion, and everything that goes with that, you make a promise to family, that stays. That's like a written fucking binding contract, only in words. For Dana to say the bullshit that he's been saying, yeah, I've been in contact with him. Of course you've been in contact with him. He's going to be cornering some fighters. Because, look, he still wants to be a part of the game. He just doesn't want to be the game. And you know what? More power to him. Don't get me wrong. I would have loved to have seen him come back for a 30th win. Not that I like him as a person or anything like that, but I would love to see him get 30-0. I really would. That's just adds to the legacy of there's no other fighter that'll ever fucking do that. Let alone, I don't think we're going to see another fighter hit 29-0 like he is. At least not at this high of an echelon in this lightweight division that's stupidly fucking sacked right now. But the other part of this that really pisses me off is I think, and this is me purely just putting on the tinfoil hat here, I think this was a reason for Dana to not put the title on the line for Dustin Conor. Namely because if Conor wins, he already has a strong arm over the fucking UFC. Because this fight right now that is on pay-per-view was going to happen regardless of whether it was a pay-per-view card and they were the headline or not. Conor was going to make it happen, and he was going to do it on the day that there was a pay-per-view to put the big middle finger up to the UFC and say, yes, I have more draw than you. And he does. So I think my tinfoil hat's telling me he didn't want to put that title on the line because if Conor gets his hands on it again, there's no fucking stopping that man. And if it's a power move that you're trying to play there, Dana, just to keep the power on your side of the house, well played. But at the same time, fuck you. All you're doing is you're holding up the rest of the division because there's plenty of fighters right now that are willing to go to war for that. I mean, fuck, even the co-main event for this weekend, Hooker and Chandler, well, Hooker, but you know, those guys both hungry as shit, albeit one gets knocked out pretty easy, the other does not. But you know, just saying, the lightweight division there at 155, fucking ridiculously stacked. Look at the top 5 there in 155 right now. That's in my opinion, the most stacked division in the UFC right now is at lightweight. Don't get me wrong, but I really think fucking Dana is just playing keep the belt away from Conor as long as possible. Because we don't want to give him any more pull. We don't want to have to, because they can't trim that fat. You want to cut people, you can't cut Conor.
No, you can't cut Conor till he's got like a negative 750 record or worse. He's got to get embarrassed like Chuck Liddell style before they'll get rid of Conor.
Look, if they ever decide, oh, well, we don't need you anymore, Conor's going to go to fucking Bellator. Bellator will gladly pay the price tag for that. Because guess what? They just took all of fucking the UFC's pay-per-views. Every fucking one of them.
Yep. Instantly.
So it's then giving him any more fucking firepower. That says, what is that? 25% stake in the UFC you want? Okay. Just saying, they don't want it. So I think that's a lot of what that is. However, that is my tinfoil hat thinking because, you know, they want to keep the power even though they don't have the power in the case of Conor, which is funny already as is.
Agreed.
I mean, to me, this door closed when he said he was done and that he had promised his mom. And like 2 weeks went by, didn't hear anything. Month went by, didn't hear anything. 2 months went by, didn't hear anything different. Then I'm done. I'm done. Door's closed. This anytime I hear Khabib chatter start piping up, I don't care. I don't listen. Until the ink's on the paper, I don't believe it. The man has said, I'm done. He's stuck by his word, saying that he's done. I admire that. That's about the only thing I admire about Khabib. Is sticking right to his word. I have no desire to watch him fight again.
No,
I have no desire to watch him wrestle hump somebody to death and them being incapable of stopping him because he's that fucking good. So yeah, anytime I hear, like I said, anytime I hear Khabib chatter, especially out of fucking Dana White, like I don't believe a word that comes out of Dana White's mouth. I don't think anybody should believe a word that comes out of Dana White's mouth because he does. I don't know that he knows how to stop himself from saying shit that just ain't true. Hell of a promoter though, hell of a promoter, and he's really good at holding shit together and coming up with everything. So I don't know that there's a lot that needs to be said about this. Khabib says he's done until he signs a contract to fight somebody, which he will not. He's done. That's it.
Right.
All I got to say.
Yep, that actually reminded me of one other thing of him saying he's done. He actually interrupted an interview this week with the Schmo and whoever the fuck he was.
Yeah, it was
interviewing.
Matt Serra.
Yeah, him and Matt Serra were doing a
Matt
little
Serra and
fucking
Dean
interview.
Thomas. Yeah.
And he walked up, interrupted him, and they asked him, "Are you going to come back to fight GSP?" "I'm not interested in GSP anymore. I'm done fighting."
Yeah.
I'm going.
Yeah, live on the spot. He literally walked through the lobby that they were sitting in doing the interview. And Sarah was like, "Yo, it's Khabib." And he walked over and right on the spot, literally, they held a fucking microphone up to him and were like, "Come on, man, tell us the story." And he's like, "No, I'm done. I'm done."
Yeah, I was like, that's right there. That's the nail in the coffin. There's your fucking dagger.
Well, that, and if you saw him Wednesday when he was there to corner his cousin, he has been hitting the tiramisu. Even his buddy DC was like, "You thickened out since I've seen you a couple months ago." He says, "Yeah, I'm not training anymore. I don't have to stay skinny." So
He's gonna look like DC soon. That's gonna be fucking funny.
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. Like the irony of DC telling anybody that they've thickened up, like that should tell you how much this is really settled in on Khabib, literally and physically. Kids these days, I tell you. Excuse me. So, one other interesting little piece of news here, and then a couple of announcements, and then we'll get into some breakdown here for you fine folks. We got an announcement this week. I'm very conflicted about this announcement. On one hand, it makes me very happy. This announcement, combined with the announcement about how they're going forward, not only with their removal of cannabis from the punishment list of UFC and USADA, but the investment in the Neural Institute and the research into psychedelics, recovering CTE and severe brain trauma. That makes me very happy, combined with this announcement. But the other half of this announcement is quite literally a double-edged sword of sorts. The announcement itself was that Andre Ewell, one of the new 135 pounders in the UFC, had officially been sanctioned by USADA, but he was released with a warning instead of a suspension for the first time on an Ostarine detection. Now, the reason that this is such a big story is because this is the exact same situation, 100%, that Nate Diaz was caught in, that they resolved over the course of a weekend. This is the exact same situation, 100%, that Neil Magny was caught in, that cost him a year and a half on the fucking sidelines, unable to compete. This is the exact same situation, 100%, that just got Yoel Romero $26 million. What it got Andre Ewell was a warning. Because when they tested and they found Ostarine in his sample, he said, I haven't taken anything outside of this list of supplements that you motherfuckers approved. Here's the bottles of all the fucking supplements I'm taking. And they took it and they tested all of them. And sure the fuck enough, one of the supplements on the fucking USADA approved list did not have ostarine listed on the label, but has shown a concerning level of ostarine in the actual supplement itself. So based on Andre Ewell telling them, I'm only taking what you motherfuckers told me on this list that I can take, and I still pissed hot. So you motherfuckers find the problem. And guess what? The problem was on the list of shit that you motherfuckers say that we have to be able to take. So he did get a warning. He did not get a suspension. He will not receive a fine. He will not lose any time or his ability to compete. That makes me very happy that we have come so far through the bullshit that we can get to a point where when someone has a questionable sample test, he can say, I have only had what you told me I can have, and here is your verification. They tested it, immediately went through, confirmed it, and did not remove his ability to compete. On the other fucking hand, this exact situation cost Josh Barnett his entire fucking career in the UFC. It cost him his entire career through Bellator. His prime is gone. You can't write him a check for what he lost. You can't give him the matches that he won't have an opportunity to create legacy with anymore because your substandard ability to process things that people have been telling you for literally 10 fucking years have been happening because only you know what's best in terms of testing. Nowitzki himself is leading the charge on the investment into the psychedelics. Nowitzki himself is now leading the charge on the removal of cannabis from the testing and finding level. And Nowitzki himself is getting involved personally in making sure that the testing of questionable supplements like this and sample reductions get brought as expediently as fucking possible so that going forward, this is the type of announcement that we're going to get. We found a questionable sample. We tested it. He gave us his supplements. We confirmed it. It was just a mess up. No one's going to get punished, but we're changing the supplement list of what everyone can take so that no one else will piss hot on this and fuck up your career. But the double-edged sword is that now how do we justify this to guys like Neil Magny? How do we justify this to guys like Nate Diaz, who still caught negative traction from this? How do we justify this to guys like Josh Barnett, who lost the best literal years of his prime competing because of a turnaround test that came back just like Andre Ewell's did? The competitor did nothing wrong, took the supplements that he was told to take that would be safe. And then when he got a questionable test, gave you those fucking supplements and you confirmed it. But in the case of a Josh Barnett, it took them years. In the case of Neil Magny, it took them almost 2 years. In the case of Nate Diaz, you could see a little progress because they got it done in a weekend. They moved the world to keep that from falling apart. And now we've got Andre Ewell, who didn't even have to have any time served. But at what cost did we make this progress?
Here's the other kicker in this that pissing me off. Why give him a warning when you motherfuckers fucked up and told him the wrong supplement to take? Why not just go, you know what? Our fault. Whatever.
Our bad, right?
Because
Take the fucking responsibility of the mistake you made.
The worst part of this, that warning, if he ever pisses hot because he did something, took a supplement that's not on their list, that warning's going to be there and they'll be like, we fucking told you so.
Yep.
Automatic fucking
Exactly.
You know, fucking stupid. They shouldn't be warning him for that. They should be nixing it. And you're right. At what cost? You've screwed a lot of people over left and right, and it's time you start taking responsibility for your own actions. And yes, the fighters are responsible for what they're taking. However, when they're taking the list of your approved substances, maybe you should be testing those substances on a regular basis or get one out of every batch that they do. Because if you look on those types of things, there are batch numbers that tells you which batches were made all in one shot. So you can test each batch individually. Maybe you need to have those companies that you're saying are on your approved list send you one little small sample out of each batch so you can test it to make sure it's safe. Or not safe, but fits your bill.
Right. Conforms to the standards that you're trying to hold these guys
So
to.
that way, if one of those flags, because that batch somehow got contaminated with something that shouldn't have been in it, you can tell the fighters, hey, if you're taking this supplement, don't take this batch. Make sure you're checking your fucking batch numbers, you know? But, you know, God forbid you do the right thing.
Right.
Leader, you said something about the whole cannabis thing. Did they change their announcement from last week that they're practically eliminating the violation of cannabis from USADA?
So it's gotten a little more complex. We've gotten a little more information on it. Basically, what it boils down to, the TLDR of it, is that the UFC and USADA, through peer-reviewed doctor-run studies, have determined that there is no discernible level through testing, be it high or low, from microdosing or heavy consumption either, to create any measurable performance enhancement from the consumption of cannabis. So, based on medical results and peer-reviewed studies, the UFC and USADA have officially removed any minimal threshold of acceptable levels from their punishment regimen. So no fighter in the UFC going forward in the USADA pool will ever be fined, suspended, or punished from the UFC or USADA for any level of cannabis testing in their fighting supplement, or fighting regimen rather. The caveat to that is that, much like juiced up Bellator fighters, this now only leaves fighters subject to the local athletic commission's determination on performance enhancing supplements. And that's kind of where the bottleneck of a problem comes in that even states like Nevada, where they fight in the UFC out of the Las Vegas Apex, a state where medical and recreational cannabis are 100% legal now, the athletic commission still has a 150 nanogram per milliliter threshold, which is actually less than the quote day of policy that the UFC used to have. UFC and USADA have followed the science and have started making progress, but the local athletic commissions, even in legal recreational states, still haven't made that step with them yet.
It's pretty fucking stupid.
I agree. It's 100% dumb shit. It's that's why I said it's very similar to the situation we're in now. We're making some progress, but it's still minimal progress, and at what cost? Nick Diaz.
Well, the thing is that just nixes the fighters from fighting in that said state. It
Right.
doesn't nix them from fighting in different states. So,
Right, moving over where a more friendly athletic commission would work with them. Exactly.
yeah, what that means is if something does pop, they're not going to get suspended from the UFC. They're just going to get suspended from competing in that
From going
state.
there. Right.
So, you know what that means? We might see fights going outside of just the Apex Center and Abu Dhabi if that shows to be a problem, because there are a fuck ton of fighters that both use medicinally and recreationally. And for them, this is a great fucking win, because you know what? It's no different than drinking a fucking beer, in my opinion. As long as you're not doing it the day of the fight, you're fucking good, man. Do your fucking thing.
The other side of that is that, being as how the UFC is quite literally centered in Las Vegas, and they've built the Performance Institute and the Apex in Las Vegas, multi-billion-dollar buildings and companies and warehouses for production of fighting, for revenue generation for the state of Nevada and the city of Las Vegas. this actually might be enough to put some pressure on the Nevada State Athletic Commission to finally recognize their state's own fucking legislature that's already in place, recognizing the legality of cannabis in that state, and finally remove it from their local from the Nevada State Athletic Commission's roster and pull it just like the UFC did. I'm not saying that's going to be a national thing moving, obviously, but
It very well could be, though, because
in their home base, it's a good place to start, I would think.
that, and you've got to figure, as big of a company as the UFC is, as big as USADA is at this point, they're all, no matter what state you go into, those states are going to have to go, you know what? We want that revenue when they come into town.
That's what I'm saying. That's big money
So
when they come play.
maybe it would behoove us to adjust the standards here for that to keep them coming, because they come to here in Wisconsin, they come to Milwaukee, quite a bit, and usually 2, sometimes 3 times a year. We've seen them in recent years, minus this last year, but we're in a weird fucking situation in time right now. But even smaller states they get into, and I think it'll force people's hands because of how much revenue they do bring in.
Yep.
From between hotel stays, ticket buys, cab fares, the whole 9 yards.
The whole kid caboodle, yeah.
Because you're bringing in millions every time that those guys come to town.
Oh yeah, think about fight week. Because rarely do they go a place and then just do like the weigh-in and then the fight. There's always some sort of even a mediocre sized presser event, and then there's the red carpet to the event itself, and then all of the press that attracts as well. That's big tourist money, and that happens multiple times a year all over the fucking country under normal circumstances. That's a lot of pressure, man. That's a lot of pressure on an athletic commission, and I hope it works. I really do. I hope this progress starts to snowball and we see some more of these stupid fucking regulations and rules get thrown out the goddamn window. We'll see.
At least change it like based off of company like company requirements, company standards.
Right, make some sort of a local exemption for the company coming there and
like hey, the UFC has changed this. We should like go with that, go off of their guidelines, listen to their guidelines, and follow that. But hey, next week this boxing company promotions is coming into town. We're gonna follow their guidelines. Do like big time promotion to promotion like style regulations, because that would really benefit every single or like massive organization that comes to your state.
Right. If they're not going to, if the local athletic commission is not going to adopt the unified rules, we can't necessarily expect them to adopt, a unified logical sense of standardized testing. So if you're going to go with each different organization's standard of rule set, why the fuck wouldn't you go with each different organization's standard of testing to go with it?
Yeah.
I agree. Good point. So, that being said, we do have just a couple of quick fight announcements that I do want to talk about. The last couple of announcements, quote unquote, that they've talked about fights over the last 24 hours or so, since I was live for the fucking 6.5-hour insanity that was the Wednesday morning Abu Dhabi card. If you missed that and need some background noise to giggle at, I urge you to go back and chuckle at my stupidity. It's out there on the tubes. But basically most of the fights that they have talked about since then have been just confirmations, like the Burns Usman fight has been confirmed. The Megan Anderson versus Amanda Nunes fight has been reconfirmed. But we did get a pair of interesting announcements of newer fights, I guess would be the better word. One's a rebook, one's an actual new fight, but both of them are very interesting matchups here. The first fight, rebook, that they initially said they weren't going to do, that I am actually very happy they changed their mind on. Phil Hawes versus Nasruddin Mavalov will be officially rebooked to February 20th. That fight was actually supposed to be last weekend. last minute scrapped off. That sucked. I was fucking very excited to see that fight, and I'm very happy to see they're rebooking it and giving these guys a couple weeks to get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
That one's got a lot of interesting potential. If you didn't see Phil Hawes making a fucking literal explosive debut into the UFC, I urge you to take 28 seconds, I think is what it'll be out of your day, and go back and rewatch that one. You'll enjoy that, I promise, if you're here. The other interesting fight that they announced today, the brand new one, is going to be on the April 10th event, and it is going to be newcomers Norma Dumont versus Bea Malecki. Now, both of these new ladies literally came into the UFC with a fucking bang. We saw Malecki come in with one of the fiercest female knockouts we have seen in a long goddamn time. That gal has got fucking power and timing like a young Durandame, and that's scary as shit in today's fighting scene. And Dumont is one of the smoothest young Brazilian submission artist prospects that we have seen. They call her the Lady Jacare. So that should fucking tell you something that this gal is capable of here. They're going to put the two of them in a cage together on April 10th. And that makes me very excited because that's got great fucking potential written all over it as well.
Yeah, I was really impressed with Dumont. So
she's smooth as fucking butter, man.
Yeah, she is.
She's very smooth.
see what she can do up against a good striker. Because there's not many like really good lady strikers coming around these days. So that'll be good. Good match.
Yeah, I'm pretty fucking stoked for that one.
Oh yeah, nice to see some fresh blood out there.
Fuck yeah, breathing new fucking life into the lady side of things is never bad when we've seen how stale that started to get over there.
Oh yeah.
So one thing I do want to go over real quick before we jump into some breakdown stuff. They did officially announce the bonuses from yesterday's card. Fight of the night, kind of like we suspected when we saw it in the moment. Mike Davis versus Mason Jones. Holy fucking shit. If you did not see the war that those two gentlemen went through, that is one of the greatest fucking fight fights we have seen in a long fucking time. And I fucking told you, Mason Jones coming in as a fucking 155 and 170 double champ was going to make for an interesting fucking puzzle. And goddamn if he didn't. Those fucking guys went at it and abso-fucking-lutely earned their 50 grand bonus each. That was a fucking great matchup.
That one was absolute fireworks. I remember because I was working while I was watching the fights, which that's something else onto itself. But I was taking a call during one of the rounds, and I don't remember the call at all. I don't even remember if I did my job correctly at the time. Like, I have no idea what the fuck I said to that person because I really wasn't paying attention. My fingers were just on the keyboard, just a smacking away. And my eyes were glued here, my work screen here. I'm going, yeah, it was that fucking good to where it forced me to completely abandon my job, which was fucking great, to be quite honest. When they're that good, you know they're worth going back and rewatching. So if you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. You won't regret it.
Yeah, that was one that literally, if you were watching at any point in that fight, from whatever point you caught that fight, you were glued there till the end of it. That's one of those fights that's so fucking exciting, you can't look away to go do something else because it doesn't give you the option to separate your attention from that fucking great of a war. And I love fights like that. Thankfully, this was a normal weekend or normal event rather in terms of bonuses. We got a regular fight of the night, which was a hell of a fight of the night, fight of the year candidate already in my fucking opinion. But we also did get a pair of performance of the night bonuses, but I'm a little apprehensive on the way that they gave them to one. Warley Alves got a performance of the night bonus for quite literally kicking Mounir Laziz's ribs through his fucking body and forcing him to drop and give up from body kicks. That was fucking spectacular. That I knew that fight was going to be competitive, and I knew that fight was going to be good. That I don't think was on anyone's radar of even being a remote possibility of how that was going to get stopped. The world-class kickboxer got kicked in the ribs and blocked the middle strike and still dropped. You know what? You earned that 50 G's, Worley Alves. You definitely had me fucking shocked on that one.
It was like 4 or 5 kicks right in a fucking row to the same spot. Like his lower ribs and fucking liver, dude, he was shut down. There was nothing he could do. It was nasty. And the thuds that it made, you could hear it over the fucking crowd, which was fucking fantastic. I mean, fantastic, yes, because of the fucking impact, but at the same time, it made me cringe just hearing it.
Agreed. Just fucking brutal kicks. So I 100% agree. Worley Alves, you fucking earned a 50K on that one. Now, my problem with the other one here is that we actually had, for the first time, and I can't remember how fucking long, 2 of the same submissions back to back, not only on the same night, but back to back performances. And then almost a third. The third was attempted. It just didn't get sealed. So we literally had 3 matches in a row. The submissions laid on, it fucking works. The submissions laid on, it fucking works. The submissions laid on, it looked like, oh my God, he got out of it at the last second. But that was enough to where I was having fucking down south palpitations, I tell you. I had the vapors watching that shit. Oh my goodness. But the problem is the one that started it off was the least impressive of the 3, in my opinion. Ricky Simone came in and put on an absolute fucking performance and showed you that the Samson power of the mullet is coming back. It might only be a little bit there now, but it's coming back, and he knows it. And Ricky Simone is on a fucking path back to where we saw him at one point in time. That makes me very happy. And the submission that he laid on was fucking beautiful. It was more strength than leverage, even the way that he did it. And it was fucking nicely applied. The problem is the one that we saw do it first was Umar Nurmagomedov, Khabib's cousin. And the problem for me is twofold. One, Sergey Moravov, the guy that he was fighting, is a guy who, to his credit, came through M3, the same place that Ivlyov and Nate Landwehr and several other of our favorite Russian fighting bad motherfuckers have come through. The problem is that when Sergey came through, it was the fucking 90s. We're talking about a guy whose prime was when our favorite show Casual was in diapers. Literally. And now, now we're talking in 2021, they're going to put him against a baby-faced, more so than RJ Nurmagomedov cousin, and try and tell me that that's an impressive win? Fuck your mother. I don't buy that bullshit. You don't get credit for easy wins on fucking soup cans. And while Sergey may have legitimately owned his badassery in his prime, that was a literal RJ lifetime ago. You don't get the same credit for that, sir. I'm sorry. They're starting to pad the young Nurmagomedov's record just like the senior Nurmagomedov did in his early days, and I call bullshit. I don't think he earned that 50. I think Ricky Simone should have gotten that 50 for doing not only the same thing, but doing it better in more impressive style against a more worthy opponent.
I will say the one good thing that did come out of that Nurmagomedov fight there, I would say his striking for being a Nurmagomedov was fucking very impressive and very crisp.
Way better, yeah, way better than his cousins. I will give him that.
It was very crisp compared to any of them. Like, I think he could be problems. However, fighting a soup can, it's hard to tell until they put him up against somebody who's decent. And I say decent as in a good looking prospect.
Current relevancy, maybe.
Yeah, then we'll see what happens. But it's still, nonetheless, I will say he did look crisp. But yeah, my hat would have definitely tipped towards Ricky Simone's submission versus that one. But, you know, what do I know?
It's not like I was up at 8 o'clock in the fucking morning to watch that or anything. Fucking assholes. Oh, but that being said, that will bring us into the meat and potatoes section of this particular show here. The marquee solution, the reason for the season, the namesake of this particular event, UFC 257, Poirier McGregor 2, the first pay-per-view of 2021. We have reached that beautiful pinnacle of the first quarter of 2021 where we have got a new administration, we have got a new pay-per-view, and everything from here on out has just a slight glimmer more than it did a month ago. That's a good thing in my opinion here. I'm not saying everything's perfect. I'm not saying everything's going to be. I'm saying there's a nice little glimmer in the corner that we didn't have before, and I'm ready to see where it's going to take us. UFC 257 is the first pay-per-view to legitimately stand uninterrupted. We have not had a single major fight, you heard that, fall off from the Backstreet Boys on this whole card. They have stacked this somehow with folks who are either immune or have not put themselves in jeopardy to have to deal with it, and we have got a beautiful fucking lineup as a result of that. Now, this isn't just one of those situations where there's a great main card that you have to fucking see. This is legitimately one of those matchups that has got good fights from the opener to the closer. The one thing that did get nixed from this card that does make me sad, that is Backstreet Boys related, wasn't a new development. It was a recurrence, and that was our favorite Nate the Great Landwehr being removed from the Evliov fight. The counterpoint to that, though, is that they did manage to salvage that match and said that they are going to try and rematch that later. So we still get to see Evliov come in, but now we get to see him against Nick Lentz in the early prelims. We've got Zhalgas Zhumagulov, who is one of the most interesting prospects in the UFC to watch coming in to open it up. We've got the Evliov match coming in after that with Nick Lentz. And then we get Dirty Sanchez himself, Andrew, versus one of the most exciting prospects in the UFC, for my opinion, Mahmoud Muradov, returning to show the ability to knock mouthpieces out of fucking grills, stepping in against a guy who is known to be willing to take a punch to give a punch. I'm not saying Sanchez versus Muradov is going to be the most exciting fight on the card. I'm saying it's going to be the first holy shit fight on that card. I like Andrew Sanchez. I've been a fan of his since we saw him on The Ultimate Fighter. He has got great potential, but it seems like no desire to reach that potential. He, to me, resembles one of those fighters who is content in mediocrity, if that makes sense. There is absolutely the potential to chisel that block of granite down and find a statue within, but he's cool just kind of being a boulder sitting on the middle of the hill. And that's cool. But you know what? There's some hungry fucking dogs coming up that hill who are going to walk right the fuck past you and might piss on you on the way through. Mahmoud Muradov is one of those bad motherfuckers who's trying to get to the front of the fucking pack, and his striking is so goddamn crisp. I think a guy who's comfortable standing in the pocket and trading like Sanchez is going to eat the one that's going to put him to fucking sleep, and I think that's going to be the oh shit moment to get people paying attention on the early prelim Saturday.
You're muted.
I was saying that this one, this one definitely has some potential. Like Sanchez loves to get in there. He loves to hunt for his knockouts, and he's a fairly exciting fighter because of that. Whereas you've got Muradov, who's content to sit at range and just sit you back and precise strike you until the counter opens up.
Snap that neck.
Yeah, exactly. And then proceed to rock'em sock'em robot. So this has the potential it could go either way for either guy. Obviously the early running is going to run for Sanchez. Typically does for headhunters like him, get out there, burn some energy. I think this is probably Muradov's fight. I think he's good enough. I think he's slippery enough to really show what his skills are here. And I think this is I think this was a great fight for him to take. May not have been the best fight for Sanchez to take, but I think this was a really good one for Muradov to take. To really showcase what he can do, which is keep people at range, and then all of a sudden the lights go out. So should be a really, really fun fight. This is one of the ones I was really looking forward to this weekend.
Agreed.
I'm glad to see Muradov back. It's been a year and close to a year and a half at this point since we've seen him in, because we didn't see him at all in 2020.
No, which
not
is
one
sad.
time. But yeah, especially considering he's the only fighter from Tajikistan on the roster.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, he's the only one on the roster. And giving for two reasons. One, his first two fights, he looked fucking phenomenal. Granted, I have to put an asterisk by those because they were also fighting soup cans. However, like I said, it's nice to see some fresh blood in 185 because, to be honest, 185 at the top has gotten a little stagnant. I mean, with the exception of Blachowicz coming in there and wrecking shit. But, excuse me, that's 205. Fuck me. I'm mixing shit up, yeah. See, that's how stagnant 185 is when I start fucking mixing shit up like that. Yeah, it's definitely nice to see some new blood come in, and I'm hoping that we get to see some sort of fireworks out of one of the two of these guys. I don't know who it's going to be because, to be honest, Sanchez has a lot of fucking potential, a very lot, but it seems as though he's just not reached it, or maybe he's done something in the last fucking 6-7 months since he had his last fight, because I think what he fight in June or July of last year or something like that. So to be honest, I think he's got potential, but the only other thing if you want to look forward to something else at 185, I guess you can always go and ride the Italian's dick if you're really feeling up to it. I'm just saying, because that's about the only kind of show we're getting lately. So hopefully one of these guys makes something exciting happen, forces them up into the ranks with some of our numbered guys in 185. I think if either one of them puts on a decent performance, being as they both have their last fights are wins, that could project them up into getting a fight with somebody in the numbered category.
I would not be upset seeing Muradov take this. Like, his fighting style is not somebody that can really get fucked with a headhunter, because he's always going to keep range. He has the fight IQ to read you and understand that you're just going in for a fucking knockout. You're just trying to get a highlight. And that's exactly what Sanchez is. He just wants a highlight. He's going in fucking guns blazing, brawling, fucking fighting in a phone booth, just trying to get a sloppy ass knockout. I think his experience, his time, his fight IQ is gonna read that and be like, okay, I'm just gonna keep distance and piece you the fuck up and counter you on every fucking wild fucking swinging hook that you throw. I would not be mad seeing Muradov take that with the overall fighting style that Sanchez has, because he's more those one of the guys that Dan Hooker Poirier style fucking meet me in the middle and let's brawl it out in the phone booth. Which those people have a place, but fighting somebody that's long in fighting range, that's not the ticket to the show. That's not a game plan, man.
I absolutely agree. And especially considering the last time we saw Murdoch step into the octagon, he hit a dude so fucking hard, the dude's mouthpiece flew out of his mouth and out of the ring before the guy hit the fucking ground. And he quite literally shut that gentleman the fuck off. He folded like a street taco. And still, people for some reason are overlooking Mahmoud Murdoch. And I tell you what, he might not be a household name yet, but I don't see it being very much longer before that starts to change, especially if he starts putting hurts on Andrew Sanchez the way that he hurt the last gentleman on a fucking Conor McGregor pay-per-view card. That's going to get you the attention that you definitely need to start pushing your career forward.
I mentioning mouthpieces. I hope coming into 2021 they do something for Mouthgate scandal, because that's happened twice last year.
So I was talking with somebody about this day before yesterday. As weird as it is, because people might not realize it, but when this happened last week, this was not the first time a mouthpiece has fallen between the cage like that. This actually happened in one of the last events of 2020, but it was so much worse that they literally had to bring flashlights and other security referees in to climb under the fucking octagon to find this gentleman's mouthpiece. And it
solid
took,
minute and a half.
Yeah, it took minutes of actual like climbing and searching under this fucking cage to get this poor guy's mouthpiece. It looked like a WWE flub where there was a table and chairs match, but no table or chairs. It was fucking hilarious to see. The problem is that it happened in front of Dana himself this time. So he made a point to say something about it. The issue is, the only way they could really prevent that from happening would be to create a literal almost 90-degree buffer like you would on the edge of a bathtub with silicone to cover the edge from the canvas of the mat to the cage.
Or just have material like a vinyl material in that
straight
gap
up the edge there. Yeah, so you have to create something that fills that gap, which makes more work, and that's going to mean money. And we know Dana doesn't want to do that, so we're going to see more
Velcro. Adhesive it, and have a Velcro strip with a thin piece of vinyl running in between. And just stick that between the outside to the inside of the mat.
You know,
boom, problem solved.
The downside to that is, because it's the UFC, it still needs to look good. And if it looks like something a fucking I'll say a fucking redneck came up with, where you're just going to throw some duct tape over it to cover the fucking hole, that's not going to work. Because look how many times that get action that's right close to the edge of the fence. You can see all the detail in the fence there. You can see where the gap is, where the cage comes down right at the gap. Unfortunately, that shit's gonna happen unless they completely change the way that they make the octagon, like to make the floor panels just a smidgen bigger,
to
assemble it, and then that way it just butts up against everything. But you know, that costs money, and how much time is it gonna take them to redo that, and then have them redo canvases, because canvases will have to be adjusted size as well to fit. That's a fuck ton of money they're going to have to invest into that shit. And I doubt they're going to do it. So you're just going to have to pray to God you keep your mouthpiece in, or maybe they're going to have to make them
bite the fuck down.
Bite down, or maybe they're going to have to force them to wear some sort of weird fucking headgear.
Man, there's a whole fuck ton of potential of weirdness for this to go. But yeah, I was talking to somebody about that the other day. Like, this just happened to be the first time that it happened right in front of Dana, which is why it got as much publicity this time. But this is one of those weird fucking unplannable things that we're starting to see happen once in a while.
Not to mention, fucking to fish your mouth guard out of there, good fucking luck.
Right? Yeah, and at that point, they're not rinsing that bitch out. They literally just hand it back to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, fucking dust and fucking like sticks and shit in
Who
your
knows
mouth
what?
guard.
How many fucking dead bugs you just picked up and shit? Chewing on 8-year-old fucking croaked roly polies and shit.
Some fucking like the
Oh,
fucking
man.
the shells of spiders, the
Yeah.
spiders because they molted. Then protein,
Yeah,
pure
hell,
protein, baby.
yeah, just a little something to help you get by. Oh, but from there, we will move into the prelims themselves. Now, I have to say this. It might not be the greatest unto itself, but this prelim card alone is as good as some of the main fight night cards we saw in 2020. It might not have the star power you want, but neither did a lot of the cards we saw in 2020, and they still turned out to be some goddamn entertaining and exciting fucking fights. I have no doubt this prelim card is going to follow that same fucking suit. The opening fight has got, I don't want to say it's got the most excitement. I think it has the most potential for shakeup for the division itself. Khalil Roundtree Jr. is another one that I have been a fan of since we saw him on The Ultimate Fighter. He's a local Vegas boy, so he's always training. He's always at the PI. He's always staying ready and staying in shape. He just, for whatever reason, has not been able to string together enough wins to really start build momentum. It seems like every time he starts to get his feet together, he trips over a shoelace. And then we're back to starting to square one. The interesting thing is that across the octagon from him, we have the failed potential new Polish prospect in the UFC, the guy who is supposed to be the next Jan Blachowicz, and has quite literally tripped over his dick every time they have let him out of the gates. 3 of his 5 professional losses have all been in the UFC since he got here. He has not been able to catch a fucking break yet. And he's been fighting guys with way less ability than Khalil Roundtree. This to me feels like, and I have to come back to this, put a pin in it, but side note for anyone who's been keeping track, Dana White told us in the beginning of December 2020, there would be a list of approximately 60 fighters of high profile that were getting cut at the end of the year to quote unquote trim the fat, but we never officially got that list. This fight sure the fuck feels like whoever loses is getting added to that list, because I like Khalil Roundtree, but they can't afford to keep 50-50 fighters on the roster at this point in time, least of all in fucking light heavyweight. 205 is starting to get new blood in it. They can't keep the old dead weight. And at this point, an 0-3 guy versus a 50-50 fighter, somebody got to go. This feels like that shitter get off the pot moment. And I like Khalil Roundtree, but I fucking hate that he has not been able to get enough momentum going to really put himself in that noticeable position from the fandom. On the other side of that, I was so fucking excited when we saw Marcin Prachnio come in as the new Polish prospect, the up-and-comer, the early version of Jan Blachowicz, the Polish power coming in to show that the young Polish fighters are starting to make an impact. And then he fell on his goddamn face and drug his nose up the fucking stairs every step he took. Somebody's got to fucking go in this situation, and that sucks. But at this point, if somebody's got to go, I would rather see a guy who's kind of had it together than a guy who's tripped over his own dick every time he's taken a step. And that's coming from a fucking Polak. So that hurts a little bit. But at this point, I think Khalil Roundtree is the one coming out of this match, keeping his job. I think Prachnio's getting his walking papers.
So you mentioned Roundtree can't ever get anything going. It's the fact that he has 0 wrestling defense. 0. So every time he's tried something new, he's gotten his ass handed to him. And he's been sticking to what he knows. And I think that's going to work against Prachnio here. I think just watching, I think he's probably going to batter and beat Prochnio pretty badly. This is the kind of fight. This is the kind of fight that Roundtree kind of excels at,
Yeah.
is being able to overmatch someone with strikes and really just go to town. So I think this is certainly Roundtree's fight, unless Prochnio discovered some wrestling, which I don't recall ever seeing out of Prochnio. So that's really what stopped Roundtree. I mean, Roundtree's he's a fun fighter to watch. He's got a pretty good game plan, but if he gets taken down, he cannot get back up, and that's been the issue, and that's how he loses the majority of his fights, is when someone's able to get in there and control him pretty well. And I don't think Prochnio's got that in him. So I think Roundtree's making it past this one.
Well, first thing out of the gates, to be honest, I like Khalil Roundtree Jr. However, this is the first thing I'm going to say for this fight as a whole. I would not be sad to watch both of them get walking papers. Look,
Yeah.
And to be fair, I do like Khalil's fucking style. However, he hasn't evolved at all. We've seen the same Khalil for the last, what's he been in the UFC, 3 years now?
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that. And literally, he is a win, a loss, a win, a loss, a win, a loss. Now, that being said, if we're going off of his record recently of win, loss, win, loss, win, loss, he's going to win this because he just lost his last fight.
Right.
And he won the one prior to that. But Marcin, look, this is a shit or get off the pot moment, because if you can make Khalil take back-to-back losses, which he has not done yet in the UFC,
Right.
that'll definitely keep you in line here. But neither one of these guys have any fucking wrestling whatsoever. They're both shitbags when it comes to grappling. And to be honest, they don't deserve a place in the UFC for that, because the light heavyweight division, there is a lot of really good fucking wrestlers in that division that can strike very well. And some way better strikers than both Roundtree and Marcin there. Fucking by leaps and bounds. I mean, fuck. If you're looking at purely striking, you look who's at the top of the fucking list right now. You got another Pollock at the top of the list here, who I just mentioned a moment ago because 185 sucks, so I mixed it up with 205. But at light heavyweight, you have to be able to at least wrestle. You don't have to have jiu-jitsu, but you have to be able to at least wrestle. Neither one of these guys do.
Yeah.
Trim the fat, cut this shit out. You can save yourself, 20 grand here, because I'm guessing they're both getting minimum pay right now because they both sucked a big donkey dick.
I think that's probably a fair assumption.
That's 20 grand you're saving yourself right there. Nix them. Fuck it. Let him go. Bellator will gladly pick up Roundtree. I doubt they would pick up Marcin, though. Because Khalil, I think, would have a better shot in Bellator. Although, with the pickups they've made lately,
I was going to say,
until
this year,
yeah.
Yes, I would agree. But given their recent development of talent, specifically in the light heavyweight department,
yeah, it's still a tough cookie for him to crack over there. But still, it would be a nice pickup for them.
Right.
But
it would be a good addition, I agree.
I think Khalil gets the win here. But to be honest, even if he wins, I hope he gets walking papers. Because to be honest, I'm over giving him chances. I'm over it. Like I was hyped up on him the first couple fights. I'm like, all right, stumbling out of the gate because you're in the UFC. No, you've had plenty of time to fucking be here. You should be you're battle tested, obviously, but you've come up lacking. It's time to cut him. Cut them both.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I can absolutely agree with that. And I like Roundtree, but man.
And that's the thing, is I do like him. I love his stand-up style is fucking fantastic, and he's willing to go to war. But if you can't be consistent here, you don't belong here.
I agree. I think without a spectacular performance, without a fucking oh my God moment of just an absolute brutal fucking crushing fight, I think realistically both of them could get their papers. It wouldn't really hurt much.
The best thing that both of them could do in this, practice their wrestling on each other.
Right.
Because to be honest, this might be the best chance to do it for both of them.
Yeah, true that. True that.
So, like, overall, as the fight goes, fucking Pollock bitch, like, way overhyped, has little to no, like, solid talent with what he's been given already. And they've been jokes for what the promotion has on the roster. They're bottom of the barrel. Hey, you want $20,000 real quick? Hey, sign this contract. I'm giving you money pretty much. Going against somebody that has potential to being a great MMA fighter like Khalil Roundtree, you stand no fucking shot. I don't care if his MO is win a fight, lose a fight, win a fight, lose a fight. He could lose 10 fucking fights in a row, but he at least has potential. He hasn't done anything fucking spectacular. He's been in the UFC for several years now. This isn't the old days where it's your fucking one trick pony. Either you're a ground game guy or you're standing up fucking Muay Thai, kickboxing, or boxing. This is 2020, and either you're going to get cut from the UFC and maybe get picked up by another promotion, or you're going to get run over by the new breed of MMA fighters that can do fucking everything at a moment's notice. So I'm with TJ. I think both of them get fucking cut, regardless of the outcome. I think they'll both get cut. Khalil Roundtree can go anywhere because he at least has potential.
Right.
He can go Bellator. He could do fucking LFA. That man can go anywhere.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think realistically, even if somehow Prochnio does manage to get past Roundtree, I don't think that's enough to save him at this point. 0-3, even with a win against a guy who can't string together 2 wins to literally save his fucking ass, I don't think would be enough. I think best case scenario is he gets a win and he gets paid and quietly cut. Worst case scenario, Khalil makes a fucking example out of him. He gets cut and Khalil gets one more chance. But even then,
I wouldn't be mad at that.
Yeah, even then, there's no guarantee.
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be mad at that outcome.
But it's also the UFC, so
yeah,
that outcome makes sense. They probably won't do it. But moving along from there, we don't need to go into a full breakdown, but I do want to take a point to mention that, again, one of the fights that we were originally looking forward to that just got pinball bumped down the 2020 roster and has finally found a fucking home on this pay-per-view card in Juliana Pena versus Sarah McMahon. This is an interesting fight for the ladies' side of the house for a couple of reasons here. Sarah McMahon is very much one of those new blood ladies, up-and-comers, that she's quiet and docile seeming. She's very polite. She's very soft-spoken. And then you get her in the cage and she's a fucking demon. Gal bangs. And it's fun as shit to watch. On the other side of that cage, though, we have the Venezuelan vixen herself, the original cutie with the booty. This gal has been here since the days of Gina Carano, the days of Ronda Rousey, the days of Misha Tate. She is the last of the old guard on the ladies' side of the UFC, and she's still ranked at number 7. She's still putting up legitimate, contentious fucking fights. But they're not as exciting as they used to be. She still got something going for her. But like we say all the time, there comes a point for every fighter in this game where the next generation starts to take a step past you. And I think Sarah McMahon might be that younger generation that's coming up to say, hey, you're good and all, but I can do everything you can do and more. And I'm half your age, so get the fuck out of my way, old broad. I like Juliana Pena, but I really do have a hard time seeing her get past Sarah McMahon. That's not to say she can't, but if she does, she's going to fucking earn it. I think that's going to be a fun ladies fight to watch.
Yeah. Not a full breakdown. I think Sarah McMahon can control the fight at the very least and come away with a decision win. At the very worst. I don't know that that's what will happen. I think they'd probably get a finish, but
right.
it's certainly possible that it goes to decision and that McMahon can control the whole thing. I think she's certainly got the ability.
Agreed.
Both of these ladies are one in their last three. We have to remember that. And to be honest, Pena has had the harder of those fucking fights. Her last three fights, two of them were against current champ and title challengers.
Yes.
One being Valentina Shevchenko. The other loss that she had was to Jermaine Durandame, who subbed her in the third round after beating the piss out of her for the first 2 rounds. So in the third round, she got submitted. Of course, she went through fucking hell that fight. To be honest, I think Pena gets it done because she's been battle tested. She's had the harder fucking fights. Sarah McMahon has not had the harder fights. Like, you look at her strength of schedule and the fight she's lost, she shouldn't have lost. She's a better fighter than that. So I don't think she's fighting up to her ability. I think Pena takes it, and the old guard stays in place in this one.
Interesting.
McMahon has potential, but as TJ said, she hasn't been tested yet. She hasn't gotten the fucking big dogs. She has good ground game, which is a solid fucking thing with what is up into the top 5, top 3 of that division. You have to have like solid ground game. Her striking is nowhere near that of anybody else that Pena's fought in the last year. I don't think that McMahon would be able to put her out on her feet, so she would have to go down to the ground. And with that, I think Pena has a bit better knowledge and ability on the ground than what McMahon would if it goes that route. And Pena is very comfortable on her feet. That woman can take a shot like a motherfucker and throw one just as hard back to you. So I would say Pena takes this.
Interesting indeed. Definitely going to be an interesting one to watch. I think it's going to be a fun match regardless of how it plays out. I really do enjoy watching both of these ladies, so I'm not going to be disappointed either way this goes, I think, unless we get a girls Lewis versus Ngannou, which I don't see coming out of this fucking pair. So moving forward, we will get what I am anticipating to be very much a replication of the Lewis Ngannou style boring ass fight. I don't understand how or why, but for whatever fucking reason, the UFC matchmakers have decided to give old Shoeface himself his opportunity to knock out Brad Tavares this weekend. So, you know, it's like your free punch Subway card. Everybody gets a knockout on Brad Tavares. He's like the Latino Derek Brunson, if you will. He's not competition. He's just quite literally a stepping stone that looks good at the first 12 seconds of the fight most of the time. I don't anticipate Duckbill having much problem. I don't anticipate Shoeface having much of a problem getting past Tavares, so I don't even want to fucking worry about that fight. The nice thing about this, though, is that the premier prelim fight is going to be spectacular, in my opinion. We have got Arman Sarukian, who is one of the most exciting up-and-coming lightweight strikers coming out of the Middle East, versus Nasrat Hakparast, my favorite Iranian German we have got on the fucking roster. This is going to be one of the great examples of what happens when you take a very exciting young striking prospect and a very exciting young grappling prospect and you throw them in the cage and say, figure it out, motherfucker. Somebody goes forward and somebody gets stuck on the prelims. We have seen potential flashes of greatness from both of these gentlemen, and I think this matchup is going to be fun as shit. But, and I mean Sir Mix-a-Lot size, I like him big, but Nasrat Hakparas is, in my opinion, what Calvin Gastelum could be if he took this shit serious and got rid of his ego. If he trimmed down a little of his dad bodism, quit trying to be a tall Henry Cejudo, and focused on the fucking craft, he could be what Nasrat Hakparas is in the process of being right now. I think he legitimately has some of the highest potential in the prospects of the lightweight division, and I am so fucking excited to see him getting challenged against a guy like Sarukian, who is so fucking elusive but is also such a well-rounded young prospect. I legitimately think this is going to be one that is going to come down to the wire if it doesn't go to decision, not for the lack of potential here, but quite the opposite, because both of these guys have so much to give and so much to offer the other guy from the challenge of a stylistic point of view, that there's no clear path for either one of them to just come in with a game plan and dominate the other. I think it's going to be so close that it's either going to be a last minute finish by one, or it's going to come down to the judges, because these guys are that next echelon of prospect. They both have what it takes to take a full war of a fight and to give a full war of a fight and be able to stay in it the whole goddamn time. I just have this feeling that the wrestling of Hakparas is going to be able to make that difference, because Sarukian striking is great, but if you get put on your ass when you're trying to strike, that's really going to fuck your game plan up. And Nasrat has a great sense of engagement timing. He can read you, and as you go to slip, he's already under your ribs and you're looking at the ceiling as you're going backwards. And I think that's going to make the big difference. I think his sense of timing and his ability to put a takedown on somebody while they're throwing is going to take Sarukian out of his element enough, and I think Nasrat takes the fucking win. And I think it's going to be exciting to get there, but I think Nasrat takes it.
Well, I'll take it then. For this one, first thing on it, Sarukian, he's won his last two. His last loss was against Islam Makhachev, and we've seen what that motherfucker can do.
Yes.
So it's not like he's lost to a bad fighter. No, he lost to a damn good fighter. And when he took that fight, he was brand new, very wet behind the ears to the UFC. That was his welcome fight. That's a fucking terrible way to open the door to you. Here, let me open the door. I'm going to hit you with a fucking brick. Yeah, not cool. He's had a rough go. Hakparas, on the other hand, he's kind of slowly worked his way up. He's had a couple of stumbles in there, but he's pretty fucking well-rounded, although I think Sarukian has not gotten the actual, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think he's had the necessary eyes on him.
Right.
I don't think he's anywhere near his full potential yet, which makes this a very dangerous fight for him. However, the dude can strike. He's definitely not at Makhachev's level, but neither is Hakparas at this point either.
Agree.
So, if we're going to MMA math it out here, strength of schedule definitely goes to Nasrat, but only losing to a tougher fighter. Even the fight that Hakparas lost, nowhere near as good as Makhachev. So it's going to be a toss-up. I think Nasrat gets it done. I don't think we're going to see a finish in this fight. I think this one's going to end up going the distance. However, with it going the distance, I think there is a very large potential for fireworks here because we've seen Nasrat stand and bang before, so he can do it. And if they decide to stand and bang, it's going to be fun. But on the other hand, if he gets the takedown, we haven't seen a whole lot of Sarukian's ground game, so God only knows what's going to come out of there. He might be very good on the ground. We just don't fucking know it because his other 2 wins, he didn't end up on the ground. So I think we're gonna learn a lot in this fight about both fighters. Where Nasrat's at right now, and where Sarukian's at in his game. To be honest, though, if I'm gonna give it to somebody, I have to give it to Nasrat, just purely on the experience side of things, because I think both of these guys have some really fucking strong potential in them. I'm not gonna say greatness at this point because I haven't seen greatness out of either one of them, but I've seen a lot of strong potential. However, that potential can turn to greatness at some point, but right now it's just fucking potential energy. There's no kinetic energy at this point out of either one of them.
So, I just love saying Hakparast.
Nasrat Haqparast is such a
Nasrat
great fucking name.
Hakparast.
We've got some good names in the UFC, but Nasrat Haqparast is one of the most fun, in my opinion.
He is one of the most fun. He's also an incredibly fun fighter to watch. Both of these boys have one-shot power. That's something to keep an eye on through this one because they're both of them have the potential at any point to turn the other guy off with a good counter. I think this one's probably going to be a war, though. I think this will be the one we're talking about next weekend. Like, dude, did you see that fight? Like, those boys just let it go and just did not stop because they both have the potential to just unleash on each other and put together one of those fights of the night where you're just like, dude, that was the prelims. Like, how's anything else going to hold up? Like, that's one of those follow this fights. At least I think it has the potential to be. Obviously, Hakparast has a little bit of an edge in the ground game theoretically. So I mean, it could always wind up being a takedown fest. Hopefully not. Hopefully these boys stand and bang. But I'm also going to give it to Hakparast just because I think he does have a little bit of an experience edge, and I think if it winds up going to a decision, the takedowns that could occur in the fight would wind up being the difference maker. So that's my theory. Once this gets in the cage, everything goes out the window as these boys just start unleashing on each other. So hopefully.
One thing to add before RJ steps in here. This actually, I think, is possibly on the card the best fight that they could have put in the early prelim.
Absolutely.
Fight. Like, because both these guys deserve some spotlight, and this is a good place to do it, and good way to get people chomping at the bit for the main card there.
Main card, yeah. I 100% agree with that. 100%.
So for me with this, the only big fucking iffy, as I can't remember who said it, Sarukian's ground game. Because if Sarukian has a solid ground game, I think it was TJ. If Sarukian has a solid fucking ground game, this might flip everything on its fucking head. But going off of everything that is known about both of them, I feel Hakparast is more comfortable, more honed in on his stand-up game. And we've seen that he is absolutely comfortable taking you to the ground. If Sarukian is on his ground game, that's really going to shake him up. There's going to be a lot of inactivity and a lot of not knowing what the fuck I'm going to do, how to stand back up, what type of strikes to throw. So if you go down to a decision, points game would be Hakparast. Calling a KO style victory is fucking impossible. I couldn't do that. By points, by decision, I would give it to Hakparast 9 times out of 10 with what everybody knows about him, stats, and watching his fighting style, I'd give it to Hawk Prost.
I agree. I agree completely. And I think TJ makes a great fucking point here. This is probably the best fight you could have put in this particular situation, in this position of the premier prelim. Both of these guys deserve a little more spotlight than they've gotten, in my opinion. And I also think this has the potential to be one of the best fights on the whole goddamn card. No bullshit, no fucking exaggeration. This fight has the potential to be the fight of the night, period, on a Conor McGregor pay-per-view. And I don't say that fucking lightly. That being said, that brings us into the main event, which is all fucking matches. They gave us one hell of a fucking main card here. To their credit, there is one fight that is noticeably weaker than the rest, but it has to be made somewhere, and I guess it's acceptable based on rankings for them to put it in the main card. We'll get to that in a minute. The good news is that if for some reason Sarukian versus Hawk Prost did not get you excited for this fucking card, first of all, check your goddamn pulse. You might be dead. Second of all, they're opening the main card with Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda fucking Ribas. This is the ladies' equivalent to Sarukian versus Hawk Prost. This fight has that exact same amount of potential for excitement and fucking craziness in the octagon as the one that we just got finished gushing about. This is the ladies' equivalent of that great of a matchup. Marina Rodriguez is a hell of a striker. That girl is clean and crisp. She can catch you from anywhere and get the fuck out of Dodge before you think about the counter that you're going to throw at her. The problem is the cutie with the booty standing across the octagon from her, the giggle fest that is Amanda Ribas, has skills everywhere. If you want to stand and bang, cool. She's going to smile and hit you with a fucking three-piece and then giggle and reset and hit you with another fucking three-piece. If you want to go to the ground, she's going to grab you with a fucking body lock. She's going to flip you over her goddamn hip, and then she's going to tear your fucking arm out of your socket. Ribas is the new generation. She is the embodiment of what we say, that next breed of fighter coming up that can do everything. And what makes it worse, not only can she do everything, she legitimately takes joy in making you bleed. She smiles and thrives from getting your blood on her. This is the potential new face of the ladies' side of the UFC. I have no doubt in my mind Amanda Ribas is going to win this match. The only thing about this match that gives me any confusion or perplexion is how she's going to choose to do it. She's got the power to knock her out. She's got the speed to put her on her ass. She's got the skill to submit her in one of dozens of ways effortlessly. I don't have a doubt that Amanda's going to win this fight. I just can't figure out how the fuck she's going to choose what way she does it.
So I'm a huge fan of Ribas. I think anybody who's ever watched any of her fights since she actually made her UFC debut is a big fan of Ribas. Not only is she just an incredibly relentless fighter. That's the best way I can put what her style is. She's relentless. Whether no matter where you're at, she's going to come at you. And she's a really good interview as well. So that always helps your situation as far as going places in the UFC, is having a personality, and she's got quite the personality. namely laughing as she's covered in blood and just like, having a real good time being just a disgusting little thing, but still just a ton of fun to watch. She can do it everywhere. And I think her advantage here is Rodriguez. Her one issue has always been if someone really brings the fight to her. She has a hard time kind of figuring out what her counter is going to be. She's done a lot better recently. She's looked like a lot better fighter recently. I just don't know that she's got enough to take out a fighter like Hebus, because Hebus has looked another level to anybody else that she's been in there with, except for getting knocked out, but that was a while ago. So her recent matches have all just been showcases on the different parts of her game, and it's been a joy to watch. And I really think this one is just another Hebus showcase. I hope Rodriguez puts up a good fight, but I'm kind of looking forward to another just silky smooth submission out of nowhere. So that's kind of where I see this one going. I'm thinking somewhere in the second. I think we'll see the ground game transition into something a little painful.
See that.
I'm going to start off by saying I think Hebus is way undervalued in this division. In the women's strawweight, she's way under. Like, they have her sitting at ranked 10th right now. How the fuck is she ranked number 10 in this division? She's only lost one fight. One. Solo. Granted, cost from her. Rodriguez has also only lost one. However, Hebus is gone down her last three fights have been against some pretty well-known names in the strawweight division. Her most recent one, Paige Van Zandt, and of course, that's just pretty much a fucking Barbie soup can, but people at least know the fucking name. Randa Marcos. And then, of course, the other one who gets way too much fucking credit that she beat, Mackenzie fucking Dern, because, well, she's a fucking chump, but that's besides the point because I'm not here to talk about her fucking 40 accent having Brazilian ass. Get the fuck out of here. No, Hebus definitely has fought tougher fighters than what Rodriguez has, purely on strength of schedule. And Rodriguez just lost to fucking what's her goddamn name? Fuck. Was her last fight out? She lost. God damn it, I can't even think of her fucking name now offhand. It'll come to me in a minute, but either way, she's not looked anywhere near as good. She's been a decision machine. And it's just been fucking terrible, for lack of better terms. Not that she hasn't put on decent performances, because she has, but
Carlos Esparza.
There it is. Yep. It's Carlos Esparza, and that was just last year. Like, was it 4 or 5 months ago?
July.
Oh, fuck. It was longer than that. 6 months ago. Okay.
July 20.
6 months ago. Yeah. Still. You lost to Carlos Esparza? How? Carlos Esparza's not that good in the strawweight division. I hate to fucking tell everybody this. I hate to blow anybody's, oh my God, Carlos Esparza's great out of their fucking head, but she's not. Get fucked. I'll say it.
Well, and the other part of that is that coming off of that win, Dana White has started saying that Carlos Esparza is getting the next title shot. That was his argument against Rose, was that Carla Esparza deserves the next shot off of beating Marina Rodriguez.
And all I can say to that, horse fucking shit. Because guess what? How about put her in there with Rose? What's Rose going to do to her? Dismantle her fucking ass. I'll even go this far. You know what? Let her fight Joanna. Joanna will fucking murder her.
Again,
yes, again. But still, I think Hebus definitely much better fighter than Rodriguez. Esparza was a fucking fight Rodriguez should have won. Like, without a fucking doubt, because Esparza's really not that good. There's a reason why she's never been at the peak of the list and stayed there. She's gotten to the peak before, but that was when the division was not as deep. And it's not hard to get to the deep end of the pool when it's only 3 foot fucking deep. That's all I'm saying. The depth in the strawweight division has definitely changed because you've got Rose back. You got Wiley Zhang sitting at the top. Joanna's still at the top of the heap. I will give her that. Look at the war she had with Wiley Zhang last year. That was fucking amazing. I'm just saying, Rodriguez, you fell to a faulty fighter. You shouldn't be ranked ahead of Ribas. I think Ribas takes it and fucking just annihilates the piss out of you. You're going down on back-to-back L's, and you're going to fall down to like number 15. At least I hope that's what they do to you, because you should never have lost to her, period. And I do think we're going to see another slick submission, like a fucking beating into another armbar, because that seems to be her go-to. She's fucking fantastic at that.
She loves it, man.
Ooh. Amanda Ribas, way too fucking well-rounded for somebody like the likes of Rodriguez. Way too fucking well-rounded. Fight IQ through the fucking roof. Way too smooth. Agile and quick as fuck. For somebody that is just has hands and is mediocre at best on ground game, that don't add up. It's this I think it's gonna be one of those just quick ass brawls, and then Ribas straight to the ground and just fucking humiliates the fuck out of her. Rodriguez's ground game is decent. It's decent. It's there. But Ribas is just on another level. Way too quick. Transitions are absolutely fucking spectacular. And the way she puts people in position, like walks them into position for submissions, is fucking ridiculous. It's Ribas 9 times out of fucking 10.
I agree. I completely agree. So
I'm also with TJ. I don't understand how Rodriguez is ranked over Ribas. I think that's a load of shit.
I agree. Her being 8/10, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but I have a feeling that's going to get rectified this weekend. So that being said, that brings us into another one of the unbelievably exciting and not getting any fucking attention fights on this card. Matt Frivola versus Atman Azatar is the striker of strikers battle on this card. This is the dark horse, who the fuck is that match on this card, because Sarukian and Hakparas both have at least a little bit of recognition. The hardcores will remember that Frivola just took out Violent Bob Ross, but only from just that. The hardcores will remember that Atman Azatar is a fucking KO machine. But the average casual has no fucking clue who either one of these guys are or why this fight has so goddamn much potential behind it, and it does. Matt Frivola has come out, with the exception of a couple of early stumbles in his very early UFC career, has just been building a head of steam that is almost undeniable at this point. And then you set across from him a gentleman who is 13-0 with 11 first-round knockouts. These boys were bred to bang. These are two dudes who are not only capable of, but enjoy standing in the center of the octagon, closing that phone booth behind them, and getting the fuck after it. Both of these dudes have great striking. Both of these dudes have great fight IQ. So it's not just a couple of dumbass soup cans in there playing rock'em sock'em robots. These are seasoned, intelligent fighters going in to put on a striking extravaganza for the fans. This is going to be a fucking spectacular match. This is another one that I honestly could not tell you. Even as early as this afternoon, I was sitting down watching tape on both of these motherfuckers and cannot give you my discernible opinion over who takes it over who. They are that evenly matched and they are both that fucking capable. My only confirmation about this particular match is that it's going to be as exciting as it fucking gets on this card. I couldn't tell you who wins it. All I'm going to tell you is that if you miss it, you're going to regret it.
I've got a suspicion on who wins this. I think this is Azatar's fight. I think that I really like Matt Vervola. I think that he's going to be around for a while. He's going to be a problem for a lot of folks. And he's got so much potential because he's actually got a pretty darn good wrestling game. He just really loves to swing the fists, which that's a really good thing for the UFC because it makes you an exciting fighter, and that means you'll stick around for a while. And I really want Matt Vervola to stick around for a while. Azatar though is super duper slick with those power shots. I remember the last time we saw him, I had I will freely admit I'd kind of forgotten about him. And I'm like, oh yeah, Azatar's on this card. Wait a minute. Okay, that didn't take long.
Yep, and then it's
okay. And he's when you see him in the ring, he's very unassuming. He doesn't look like he has the power that he does. But then he just will knock the block off somebody just on one of the on just incredibly clean shots. So he's precise with his strikes as well. And that's kind of why I like him in this. I think Frevola is a little sloppier than him. And he takes a little while to get going because he'll try something with his wrestling game. And Azatar is actually has pretty good, darn good ground or wrestling defense. So I see him stuffing a shot and then they reset for a sec. And then just Azatar is just the master of that counter, just what the fuck happened shot. And that's why I see him winning this. This is going to be a really exciting fight though, because both these dudes have the potential to just flat out kill each other. And they could go the full 15 minutes and I would not be upset by that. Because they're both really, really fun fighters to watch. I just, in my heart, it seems like another first round knockout for Azatar, and I'm going to stick with what my heart's telling me.
I can see it. I can absolutely see it.
All right. I have to agree with a lot of what you said there. And for this reason. Azatar, both of his fights in the UFC, first round knockouts under 2 minutes apiece. He's had less than 3 minutes of octagon time in the UFC, of active fighting in the UFC. And they've both been fucking phenomenal. Frevola, on the other hand, he, in his last 3 fights that he's won, he's only lost 1 fight in his pro career, which was his second fight in the UFC. And that in itself, not necessarily a bad thing when you're an up-and-comer. That's a good way to get your fucking wheels under you and learn how to take a loss. He obviously learned because he's won 4 straight since then. Now, the catch with that is he has been a decision machine, so he knows how to outscore people and take it the distance. I have no idea what the fuck Ottman would do if he gets into the second or third round even. Purely because we haven't seen it, and 11 of his pro wins are by first round knockout. What happens when he gets into deep water? Now, from what we've seen from him in these small, short glimpses, he doesn't go out there and firefight with people, so he's not going in there just blindly fucking throwing. The way he's putting people away is with precision, counters, and speed. Yes, he's got the power to put them away. Look at him. He's like a fucking little yoked trash can, fucking one that only holds like a fucking 15-gallon bag because he's in the lightweight division. But still, the dude has the power to put people away. Vola, I think his best bet in this fight is to get this into deep water. Get it to the fucking ground where you don't have to worry about him fucking teeing off on you with a counter. He better use some fucking wrestling. And even if you don't get that first takedown attempt, chain wrestle the fuck out of him until you get him on the ground, tire him out. See how his gas tank is. Get him into the later rounds. If it goes the distance, I think Frivola wins it because he does know how to outpoint people. We've seen it already. He's done it in his last 4 fights and in very good fashion. I mean, Violent Bob Ross, he outpointed Violent Bob Ross, and that dude is a very good point fighter.
Fuck yes.
I mean, now, if you look on the other side of the terrace, his last fucking knockout was against a very worthy opponent in Karma Worthy.
That one came out of nowhere. That surprised the shit out of me. I
Yeah.
thought Kama was going to mop the fucking floor with Frivola. I'm not afraid to admit I was wrong as a motherfucker on that count.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a fuck ton of things that go into this. I mean, even looking at Fola's previous fight prior to Bob Ross, it was Jalen Turner, and he did a fantastic job against Turner as well, and outpointed him. So I think if he can get it into deep water, he wins it. However, I don't know that he's going to be able to manage and adjust for the precision and counter striking that Ottman has. I mean, although I will say the best thing about this matchup, other than they're both very fucking exciting, is their fucking nicknames. We have the Steamroller and the Bulldozer. Finally, the construction crews around the world are going to find out whose job is better.
Right.
Who's got the better equipment here? My money, if I'm going to lay money on it, I'm getting the Bulldozer out because it's just going to push the Steamroller out of the way. Or break it in the process.
So on how TJ kind of put it, that Frivola absolutely can out point fight somebody. The only like downside is he knows that he can do it, but he likes to stand up and fight more often than not. And if standing up and fighting against somebody like Ottman, that's not looking very well. I like Frivola. Ottman, I really didn't know who the fuck that was until that Worthy fight, because that kind of shot his name up in everybody's fucking radar. Like, I like Frivola. I like his style. He's a good point fighter. He absolutely is. But point fighting somebody as quick, as strong, and as smooth and elusive as Ottman, that's going to be fucking difficult if this does go deep water into a decision, which I highly doubt that it will. And he's gonna have a very hard time trying to get Ottman down to the ground. That man has never been taken down in his professional career. I'm going on Ottman purely on his elusiveness, his maneuverability, and how slick and crisp of a counter fighter that he is. Because if you go in for something, he's going to piece you the fuck out.
I can agree with that.
I
can absolutely agree.
Either this is going to be a very quick match, or this is going to put Frivola on, holy shit, he's the only person to ever take Ottman out of the first round.
Yeah. I agree. I absolutely agree. I think either Ottman puts him to sleep in round 1, or Frevola is going to be the first person to ever make Ottman actually fight more than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Either way, it's going to be interesting as shit. I'm down for it. So from there, that will bring us to what I kind of alluded to earlier in terms of the meh fight that they're kind of stuck into the middle here. I understand that the fight has to get made because of rankings and whatnot, but realistically speaking, Jessica Eye versus Joanne Calderwood has no fucking business on this card. This is one of those fights that if you abso-fucking-lutely insist on making us watch this shit, stick it on a fucking prelim on a fight night on a Saturday where no one's going to be watching anyway, and no one's going to give a shit if this gets missed while we were going to get a beer from the bar at Buffalo Wild Wings. This sucks. This fight has no relevancy in the division, and it has no relevancy towards the buildup of this card. I think Joanne Calderwood is going to beat the shit out of Jessica Eye just because she's better everywhere than Jessica Eye is. That being said, neither one of them hold the candle and have proven that they don't hold a candle to Valentina. So why they're putting this shit on a pay-per-view this important on a main card this stacked, I don't understand, but fuck Jessica Eye. JoJo wins.
This is to keep JoJo relevant, I assume.
That's kind of the way I look at it as
for
well.
when Valentina comes and wipes her off the face of the planet too.
Well, yeah, when she needs
as she has done to everybody else in the division. So that's my assumption, is this to keep JoJo relevant. Jessica Eye is a decision machine. So I mean, she will. I was going to say she might force this to a decision, but I don't even think that'll happen. I think Calderwood's going to find a way. I think JoJo's going to find a way to take her out. So then JoJo just lines up to hop into the wood chipper.
Yep.
Fargo style.
That's right.
Was this is this a addition to the fight card? That was a rhetorical question. I wasn't actually looking for an answer. It was more so of why the fuck is this here? Look, we all know that they're going to give JoJo another shot at the title, being as she was a fucking retard and blew her shot that she had. And I'll give her credit. At least she was fucking smart enough to say, yeah, I'm a dumb fuck for taking that fight when they asked her about it this week during the press conferences. But all of the... Why was there so much camera focus on Jessica Eye this week? She's fucking trash. Take out the trash. Cut the fat, even though it's from the women's flyweight division, a bunch of little girls, but get rid of that shit. It's not worth it. She hasn't been relevant in a hot minute. And to be honest, JoJo barely is relevant at all. So, this one, I think JoJo takes it. Gonna be a lackluster fight. There's gonna be that time to go get fucking popcorn or fucking use the pisser, take a shit, go take a shot with your buddies, whatever you got to do. That's gonna be the fight to do it in. And it's sad to say that the people's co-main event is gonna be that fucking fight.
Right.
If this wasn't a pay-per-view fight, I would love to have done a flip-flop of this, to where the premier prelim was this and the fucking Hawkprost Suzukian fight was here, because that would actually be really good. But this is a pay-per-view, and I get why they put Hawkprost and Suzukian on premier prelim. To be honest, I don't remotely give a fuck about this fight. It's it's like fucking Nurmagomedov and his title. Nobody's fucking taking the title over in this weight class. It doesn't fucking matter. And JoJo is a far better performer and fighter overall than what Jessica Eye is. It doesn't matter.
I agree.
Like they need to like cut a lot of the fat on this weight class and just bring in not a lot of fresh blood to start building that weight class back up, because there's nobody, it's stagnant as fuck because nobody is there to actually be a number one contender for the title and actually give it a challenge.
Right. No, I think realistically, the only chance Jessica I has of staying relevant in the UFC would be to move up to 135. Because 135 is just a little bit less shallow than 125 is, but 135 is mostly gals from 125 who didn't want to cut that extra 10 pounds anymore. Jessica I falls right into that category because cutting that extra 10 pounds clearly doesn't give her any fucking advantage. Stop cutting that extra 10, fight closer to your walk around weight and have a chance, because I think realistically, Jessica I stands a better chance against Holly Holm than she does against Joanne Calderwood, and that says something. Not that either one of them are names to be proud of beating, but comparatively, I think at least having a chance versus being next in line cannon fodder, wood chipper to be, if you will, is just less appealing for me. But that being said, that will bring us to the microwaved plate of mashed potatoes served on the Supreme brand silver tray that is our co-main event of the evening. Dan the Hangman Hooker signing up, raising his hand, volunteering as tribute to be the welcome mat to the glamorous UFC Instagram model that is Michael Chandler. This fight both makes me very excited and extremely frustrated at the same goddamn time. On one hand, the level of disrespect that this fight being here represents is off the fucking charts for two reasons. One, fuck Mike Chandler for getting to just step right into such an undeserved fucking position as he has been put. But for two, the last time we saw Dan Hooker, he was getting the side of his face beaten the fuck off Thanos style by none other than Dustin fucking Poirier. And now the come up they're giving to Dan Hooker and being the only guy willing to fight this fuckstick that is Chandler is to playing second fiddle to the guy who just beat your ass. The disrespect, I tell you, it's fucking palpable. The good side, though, the opposite of that, the wonderfulness that this fight represents is that we have shown Dan Hooker is that next step below Poirier, who is undeniably at the top of the fucking stack right now with the true upper echelon of the division. So we know Hooker is right there, not quite in it, but right fucking there. And if you just look on strength of schedule alone, you know that Chandler has no business being even mentioned in the conversation of the upper echelon in this division. You want to bring Chandler in? Cool. I get it. Bring him in at 15. Let him earn his fucking place like anyone else who's never fought in the fucking UFC before. Were he coming in with some legitimate hype from a previous organization? I could understand starting him off at an 8, starting him off at a 7, putting him middle of the pack, letting him working his way in with a little bit of an advantage over an unranked, unknown guy. But to bring him in on the number one backup spot and then bring him in and let him have Hooker as an entryway back to the conversation for the top of the stack is insulting to people who have put the fucking work in. It's also insulting to the fans who know that just 2 fights ago, this fucking underwear model got his clock cleaned by a laughably unprepared for the match Pitbull Freire. His ticket to the UFC was punched on a lucky rematch against Brett Primus and a fight against the shell of what used to be Benson fucking Henderson. There's a reason that Benson Henderson isn't still in the UFC fighting for the belt at 155 pounds. There's a reason he's not fighting for the belt at 155 pounds in Bellator, because he don't fucking have it anymore. There's a reason they let his fucking ass go and didn't invite him back. He don't have it anymore. And a victory off of that guy should in no way put you in the position that it has put Michael fucking Chandler. So it pisses me off to see injustices done so blatantly like this. But the other side of that coin is we know for a fact Dan Hooker can take anything Michael Chandler can fucking throw at him and smile through it for much longer than Michael Chandler is going to have the opportunity to throw it at Dan Hooker. And subsequently, we know that Dan Hooker can throw fucking bombs in the heat of battle under the most intense of pressures. He can stand and throw bombs. Chandler's chin is beyond fucking suspect. I'm very much looking forward to Dan Hooker knocking Michael Chandler the fuck out before we see the end of the second round.
Bold statement, Cotton. This is one where obviously Michael Chandler's going to try and knock Dan Hooker out in the first round. That's what he's known for. That's what he wants to do. As you said, Dan Hooker can take anything.
Fuck.
Anything. He has shown disgusting amounts of endurance. Like he's taken some stuff that, quite frankly, he shouldn't. He's not a better athlete than Michael Chandler. He is not stronger than Michael Chandler. I guarantee he has more willpower than Chandler does. I guarantee that. And willpower will take you a long fucking way. And I see this going to decision. And I see Hooker decisioning this one out. I don't know that he can knock Chandler out. I think he'll be real wary that first round. And then once he gets tested a little bit, then we'll start seeing Dan Hooker go after it. I don't know that he can knock Chandler out. I think Chandler has enough elusiveness and will be enough of a speed problem for Hooker to really, unless Hooker really catches him with a counter, and that would be lovely. That'd be absolutely lovely. But I don't see that happening. I think Chandler's going to be very, very focused for this fight, despite the things that he's saying in the media. I think he's going to be really focused on Dan Hooker, and I think this is going to wind up turning into a pretty darn good fight, and it'll all be because Dan Hooker will not fucking stop. So, it's my thoughts. But yeah, my pick is Hooker. I think he's taken it the full tree.
All right, let me put it this way. This is a worse trade than Mighty Mouse for Askren. And there was no trade involved in this. For those of you who don't know, they didn't trade to get fucking Chandler like they did to get Askren. This is absolutely fucking retarded that they picked him up. You can't come in here with, look, okay, you won your last two. Good job. Fucking pat on the back, whatever. They were literally against a shell of what was a former champion 10 fucking years ago.
Literally.
And then relatively unknown. And I say relatively unknown because those of us who do watch know who the guy is, but he's mediocre at best.
Yeah.
What's absolutely batshit crazy about this fight between Hooker and Chandler is how he got such a fucking good number. How did the UFC not force him to fight at least a 15 spotter?
Somebody.
Or I'll say between 10 and 15. 15 and up to 10. I'll give him credit. He does have a pretty good resume from where he came from. However, that doesn't deserve top 10 in my opinion, especially not a Dan Hooker top 6 guy right now. Not at all. However, my hat is off to Hooker because he has a lot to lose in this fight. Should Chandler connect and fucking somehow manage to finish him, Hooker loses a lot of fucking ground if he loses this fight. A fuck ton. A metric fuck ton. And I think what's more concerning is the Vegas betting odds on this right now. Currently, and I'm sure they'll change. The last time I looked, Hooker was only like a fucking minus 125 or some shit like that, which is fucking miserable. What the fuck are you guys looking at?
Well, what's even more insulting than that, as of right now, the Vegas odds have Hooker at a minus 125 favorite, but they only have Chandler at a plus 105 underdog.
Yeah, it's literally a fucking coin flip. You're even money either way.
It's even money right across. What the fuck?
So, getting that shit out of the way, we've seen the people that Hooker's fought and know that he can bang and trade and take punishment. You watch him in the Felder fight, which he arguably lost, in my opinion. But hometown advantage, whatever, that is what it is. He did go to war with Poirier. Poirier beat the brakes off him, but he kept on coming. Hooker did not back down. We got to also remember, Hooker trains with one of the greatest fighters in the fucking world right now in Israel Adesanya. That whole gym there, they're on the rise. I think even though Hooker had the setback there with Poirier, he's still on the fucking rise, in my opinion. Like, to be honest, it could be him and McGregor right now, and I wouldn't be upset about that.
Yeah, agreed.
But how Chandler got the fight, I don't know. I guess even the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. So, I mean, it is what it is, but I'm saying Hooker takes this. But I'm in agreement with Fresh on this. I don't see him finishing Chandler. I think it's going to go the distance. And to be honest, I think what we're going to see out of Chandler is something we haven't seen a lot out of him in his recent fights. And that's him going back to his wrestling. Because he does have a solid wrestling background. Those of you who don't know, he's a really good wrestler.
He is. He actually is.
That could be the saving grace. That could win him this fight is the wrestling. Because we haven't seen a lot of Hooker on the fucking ground. Just saying, but we'll see. I still think Hooker takes it in the long run, and I think it ends up going to decision. I think we'll get a good 3-round war out of it.
Like y'all are, I'm shocked that y'all are even justifying Chandler getting like a top, like a 15-ish rank, like a 10 to 15 rank. Dude, his most notable win was over Eddie Alvarez, a very young Eddie, like 2011.
Bellator Eddie. Yeah, Bellator
2011 Eddie. That is his most notable person that he has beaten next to fucking Benson Henderson. And he did that twice. A very aged Benson Henderson who should have retired 8 fucking years ago. Like he has a good resume over fucking soup cans. I don't understand how he even got a top 15 number. I understand 16, 17 put him up there. Like yes, you absolutely have deserved a decent number next to your name. We're gonna give you a number 14 fight, and you fucking climb your way up. Fuck off with a 15, a 10. Fuck off with all of that. And Hooker, I absolutely believe Hooker has the strength to put down Chandler. He stumbled twice. A man that has very rarely been knocked out and stumbled, being Poirier. He stumbled him twice in the first round, and then again in the third round. He absolutely has the power to put that man on his ass. And Chandler does not have the chin to fucking stand up like Poirier does. Abso-fucking-lutely not. Chandler has potential coming into the UFC because he does have power. but he very rarely can last on deep water. He's lost almost all of his decision victory or his decision fights. He's lost almost all of them. He has a better ground game than what Hooker has, hands down. Hands down, that man has a better ground game. But standing up, Hooker will run fucking circles around him, eat shots, and keep fucking walking. I take Hooker on this. It's gonna be a fucking brutal war, but Hooker's gonna put him in his place.
I agree. I think, to be fair, I think Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson would have been much more acceptable. Even if you want to get as crazy as going Michael Chandler versus Charles Oliveira, because they've still got him at 7, I think would make more sense. I don't think he deserves to be ranked 7, but I think if you're playing by numbers, I think that makes a little more sense. But the fact that they've got Chandler coming in against Hooker at 6, I agree. I think Hooker's got the power. I think Hooker puts him the fuck away, and I really hope we see it. I hope we serve that fucking underwear IG model a little piece of humble pie. But that will bring us to the gold-encrusted, flag-draped, anthem-sung, team-carried platter that is our main event of the evening. The meat and potatoes in the meat and potatoes section of the meat and potatoes portion in the meat and potatoes chunk of this show revolves around this particular fight here. This is the reason for the season, the namesake event, the rematch the world has been waiting for. Dustin the Diamond Poirier versus the notorious Conor McGregor. At 155 pounds, regardless of what Khabib is or isn't doing, or if he is or isn't impressed, no one gives a fuck, because this fight alone merits this pay-per-view. Regardless of what Khabib decides to do, regardless of how Dana feels, this rematch warrants this pay-per-view. Every bit of hype this fight has, it deserves. The fight that set this up put both of two of arguably the biggest lightweight superstars in UFC history on the paths that has brought them back together. Their first fight, helped create some of the biggest hype and brought the most attention into the featherweight division it had ever fucking seen. These two as fighters brought in more attention with their first match than Jose Aldo's entire run as the king of the featherweights combined did. And that was the beginning for each of their journeys through the fight world and through the UFC. Both of them have now been in title fights. Both of them have now changed divisions. Both of them have grown and become the fighters that we see them as today. The difference is only one of them gets to leave this match the real king of the lightweights, because we know Khabib is done. So the winner of this fight is the king of the stack. The problem here is that as much as I like and respect Dustin Poirier, and I very much do, stylistically, he is exactly the same man he was the first time they met. That loudmouth, bald little shit that yelled at Conor across the stage, "You ain't shit!" That's the same guy that just sat on the stage with him today and talked about selling hot sauce together. Stylistically, that's the same exact fighter. The difference is that now he's got a little bit more durability under his belt. He's got a little bit better of a gas tank. But in the octagon, that's the same fucking guy. He fights exactly the same now as he did the first time they met. The bad part about that for him is that the guy that he's standing across from has grown leaps and fucking bounds. When they first fought, Conor was a striker, period. That's it. Conor is a martial artist now. Conor has developed himself a gas tank. It might not be Khabib level, but he developed himself some fucking wrestling, and he honed his striking from not just striking to precision targeting. He doesn't just punch people. Ask Eddie Alvarez. He doesn't just hit you. He snaps you. He breaks you with power and speed that you can't possibly anticipate. I like Dustin, but Dustin is still the same loudmouth kid in a grown-up body that Conor knocked out already. I don't agree with Conor's statement that he's going to get it done quicker this time than he did last time. I don't think he's going to get it done in 60 seconds. But I also don't think we're going to see the end of round 2 with this fight either. I think there is every possibility that Conor really does put him out in the first round, if not very soon into the second, based on the timing read and the calculation for that fucking killer left cross. But I don't see any way Dustin takes this fight. And that's not to be a knock against Dustin. That's a compliment to Conor, because he has developed so far that what Dustin thinks he has against him isn't even an option, because Conor has gone that much further than what Dustin is still looking at style-wise. I think Dustin is stuck looking at the old version of Conor, while Conor has moved into the future and is still laughing at the Dustin of the past. I think Conor McGregor takes this inside 2 rounds, one way or another.
I'll go ahead and take that. I don't think Poirier makes it out of the first. The world of difference between these two at this point is it's going to be quite remarkable when you see it in the ring. We saw what happened to Cowboy Cerrone. Obviously, Conor took him by surprise, but that's the little shit that Conor does. That's the little shit that Conor adds to his game all the time. You want to clinch up? Fine. I'm going to jam my shoulder so far into your fucking face that you're going to wake up on Tuesday and still be asking what the hell happened. And that's against a fighter of the caliber of Cowboy Cerrone, who's a very, very intelligent fighter. What Conor's got up his sleeve for Dustin Poirier, we don't know at this point, but it's going to be something that everybody's going to be copying. You'll see it 6 times by next weekend. He's innovative, he's precise, he's loud, but he backs it up. And Dustin Poirier is not the one to stop him. We've seen what it takes to stop Conor McGregor, and that's someone world class on the level of somebody like Khabib. As much as I dislike Khabib had all the tools to take Conor down. Dustin Poirier does not. This will be over inside the first.
All right. This here, I have to give every bit of credit to both of them, both Conor and Dustin. They've both done fantastic things from where they came in their first meeting. How many fucking 4 or 5 years ago that was now? To be honest, in my personal opinion, they've both grown leaps and bounds, and they both evolved some. However, I think Conor has evolved more. We've seen him go from a wild fucking striker who got a lot of lucky punches to a lot more precision. Dustin, his boxing has gotten a lot better. Now, is it to the level of Conor's? I don't think so. However, Dustin is a fuck ton more durable than he was early in his career. I don't know how you fucking get more durable, because usually you get punched enough over the course of your career, you get less durable. But for some odd reason, that motherfucker has gotten more and more durable somehow. Maybe it has something to do with all the crawfish he's eating. Maybe it's his new hot sauce regimen. I don't fucking know, but it's impressive nonetheless. Oh, do I think Conor gets this done in 60 seconds? I would like to think Mystic Mac is coming back, but I highly fucking doubt it. Do I think he could get him out in the first round? Yes. Do I think he's going to? No. Maybe a second. Yeah. I think Dustin is durable enough where he can get him past the third round into the late fucking rounds of the fight before Conor finishes him. And even if it goes to somehow miraculously the stars align, the gates of hell open, and it freezes over, and it goes to a decision, Conor still gets it done. The more likely scenario here is Conor knocks him out. Dustin's not going to be able to get him down and hold him down. For those of you who don't remember watching the Conor Khabib fight, Conor actually stuffed quite a few of Khabib's takedowns and also popped up a few times from the takedowns as well before Khabib's chain wrestling just finally gassed the piss out of him. Look, chain wrestling will gas the piss out of anybody. It doesn't matter how good your gas tank is. So he's obviously improved his wrestling defense and his ground game enough to be able to get up quickly. So I have to give it to Conor here. As much as I like the person that Dustin has transformed himself into, from the cocky loudmouth, I just got out of juvenile prison type shit, to fucking actual stand-up member of fucking society. What he's doing with his foundation and all that, I absolutely have my hats off to him. That's a fantastic thing. He's improving the lives of tons of fucking children in his area, and that's fucking awesome and a very commendable thing to do. However, you're going to earn that 500 G's that Conor's given to your foundation here.
Right.
But it's going to be in some stitches and possibly a broken orbit or something like that. Hopefully, luckily, it'll be during the fight, so the UFC is going to pay for your medicals on it. But hopefully, at the end of it, I hope they were just like they were at the beginning of this press conference this week. They were both very cordial to each other, not like they were last time of fucking yelling across, you ain't going to do shit. They've both grown leaps and bounds as human beings on that, and that's fucking fantastic. The amount of respect that's there between the two of them is great. And to be honest, I'm more surprised than just last year and this year out of Conor. The Cowboy, dealing with Cowboy in the way he did, now dealing with Dustin the way he's dealing with him. And Dustin, the same goes towards Conor there. They've both grown leaps and bounds, but all that aside, this is a fucking fight that all that patting on the back shit, that's going to go away for 25 minutes or less. We're going to call this like a fucking old school pizza. You're going to get results in 25 minutes or less, or your money back guarantee. I think, to be honest, I think Conor gets it done inside of 3. I think Dustin's durable enough to at least get it to the 3rd round.
Ooh. So, with Conor bringing back the predictions of shit, he always notices something that nobody else has. Like Aldo, whenever he drops the fucking hand to come in, he always notices something that in early stages of the round, cold fighter drops you in a heartbeat every fucking time. So I'm inclined to believe the fact that whenever Conor says I can get it done in the first round, man's gonna get it done in the fucking first round. I absolutely agree with what all of you have said. They've grown as human beings. They've grown as fighters, more one than the other. But fucking growth is growth, and that's all that fucking matters at the end of the day. if it goes late, and I don't think it will, if it leaves the first round, I don't think it will, but if it does, Dustin is going to have a very hard time doing much of anything because Conor can't put the pressure on. Conor can be a fucking spectacular counter striker, and especially now with what he's doing in boxing, fucking honing it in to be able to fucking just the precision now on counter striking and slicking, just icing everything out, getting everything fucking perfectly smooth. Dustin's gonna have a very hard time on his hands. I am inclined to believe Conor's gonna put it away first round. He's watched enough tape. He's noticed something that other people just haven't. Like he said with Aldo, I'll get it done first round. He's noticed something.
Interesting. I think there's every possibility he gets it done first round. Realistically, I don't know if he does it in 60 seconds. I think, if nothing else, just knowing that the first fight ended so quickly and then hearing Conor say the words, "I'll do it better," Dustin's going to be smart enough to be apprehensive coming out. He's not going to give Conor an opportunity to get crazy early unless he forces it. But I also don't think Conor is going to give him any opportunity to back off. I think Conor is going to come out and just put the pedal to the goddamn floor. And as much as I like Dustin, that's a pace that he can't keep. That's a pressure he can't stop. And that's hard shots he can't take. I don't think we see a decision on this one. I don't know if he gets it done in 60, but I don't think we see a decision on this one.
You think that's his game plan, to make him be like, okay, I'm gonna play a little bit smarter here? You think that's that's the entire game plan?
I think that's Dustin's game plan. I think Dustin's like, oh, you want to run fast? Cool, then I'm gonna stay back and make you chase me.
No, I mean, Conor. Do you think that's his entire game plan of saying, I'll get it done in 60? Well, now, like you said, Poirier's gonna be like, okay, I have to play smart. I have to pick my shots. And that's his entire fucking game plan. Okay, pick your shot. I'll fucking counter you. Put you on your ass.
Yep. I think he's going to give him that Eddie Alvarez treatment that, oh, you think you're a fucking boxer? Cool. Throw your best fucking shot at me. And when I drop you with the counter, I'll put my hands behind my fucking back and wait for you to stand back up. And then I'll drop you again. And then when you stand up, I'll put one hand behind my back and I'll fight you from a crooked fucking stance. And then when I drop you and you can't get back up, what's left? Who's next? I think we're going to see a real similar fight to what we saw with Eddie Alvarez. And that sucks because I like Dustin. I really do. But this is a classic example of one of those situations that you put yourself in that you just cannot win. I admire the fuck out of Dustin for taking this fight. I admire the fuck out of him for being the man that he is and taking the position that he has here. But I don't see it working out well for him. I just can't see a way for Dustin to win this. I really can't. And it sucks because sometimes the good guys got to take the L. And this is one of those situations because Dustin Poirier, for everything else he is not a bad guy. He's not a guy you ever really want to root against. He's not a guy that you ever really want to throw hate towards. But in this situation, he's just not the guy that you can easily root for if you're paying attention. But that's the fun thing about the fight world. As much as we talk, as much as we guess, as confident as we are, there's no certainty whatsoever. The only way to find out if anything we have said today is actually going to come to fruition is to tune in Saturday night, because it is back to a regular evening U.S. time, Saturday night, for the UFC 257 card and find out how it plays out. Now, the only other thing I do want to say about this before we wrap up and get the fuck out of here is that this card aside from the amazing fights, aside from the incredible scenery, aside from just the brevity of the card itself, holds a chance to make an even bigger impact on history that has kind of been, I don't want to say snubbed, but has been overlooked to a great degree, and justifiably so. But seeing as how we're ending the show where we talk about it and we're leading up to the actual event, I do want to give just a second to mention this, because the outcome of this potential thing could be extremely relevant going forward. But it could also just be another thing that here we are next week, literally just laughing about because we knew this is how it was going to go. But in the chance that it does unfold as anticipated, as it's been built up, it could be incredibly impactful. So I want to take just a moment to say, not just as the I'm No Joe podcast, but as a person, I would never, under any circumstances, advocate for someone to break the law. If it's avoidable at all costs, do it. That being said, when Dana White had the audacity to say, "We pushed the button, I dare you illegal streamers to watch 257," he might have made the single greatest blunder in the history since we learned that starting a land war in Asia is a bad idea. If there's one thing the internet is not, it is something to be outright challenged. Ask Barbara Streisand what happens when you threaten the internet. So I would never, under any circumstance, advocate for someone to break the law. But if you find yourself in a position this weekend where you can witness an attempt to give Dana White the middle finger, I'd take a few seconds out of my day to give him just a little bird. Just a little bird. That being said, that's all we've got for this particular episode here. So before we get out of here, I do want to give these fine folks a chance to let you know, if you would like to consider this conversation not over yet, and you want to keep it going with any of these fine folks, at this point, if someone needs to know tips on how to un-Joe Dirt their cheeks and become a real boy, how could they find you after the show, RJ?
I ain't the person to fucking ask that question to. Shit, man, look at me. I'm Joe Dirt. I'm not Joe Dirte yet. You can always find me over there on Instagram at RJ MMA Official. Come talk some shit. Come talk. I'm looking for a friend that thinks Jake Paul is an actual professional boxer. Yeah, his words, not mine. I'm looking for somebody to talk shit about that because I think that's hilarious. But you can always find me over the Instagram, RJ MMA Official. Thank you for having me on. Always fucking enjoy doing this.
Thank you for your time, sir. Always appreciated. That being said, if at this point in the game, somebody wants to sign up for the Hug a Chael-a-thon that we have perpetually been endorsing throughout our time here on the I'm No Joe, and they want to reach out and get their name on that list, how might they get a hold of you after the show, Fresh 03?
I'm too tired to think of anything clever, quite frankly. YouTube.com/fresh03. I'll teach you how to make some bathtub e-liquid. Yeah, Dana White might as well have fucking put "Steal This Album" on the front of this pay-per-view.
Right.
Be the most pirated pay-per-view of all time. Anyway, see you this weekend, boys.
Thank you for your time, sir. Always appreciated. So, I know it's unconscionable, but if at this point somebody still does not understand that Kurds and a Kenosha Crippler make for a great fucking weekend, and they still need that starter kit recommendation. How can they get a hold of you after the show, TJ?
Good starter kits, 9:30 Central Times here on the YouTube's my channel every Wednesday. And then, of course, I'm here on Thursday. And then you can find me on Instagram if you really want to message me. I'm right there in that same boat. I'm ready to pass the fuck out, but definitely well worth staying up to talk some shit about this because excellent fucking card.
Absolutely. And thank you again. Much appreciated for your time as well, sir. So with that being said, you know where you can find us. If you want to continue the conversation, we absolutely encourage you to. But as far as the show goes, if you enjoy what we do around here, give us a thumbs up. If you like what we do around here and it makes sense to you, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss an episode. If you love what we do around here, share an episode of the show. Maybe somebody you know love the show too. The other side of that, if you think we're just a couple of dipshits and a kid who can't grow a beard talking out our ass and we've got no reason to be online, give us that thumbs down. We earned it and we won't dispute it. That being said, we are going to call it all for this particular episode here. So until next time, remember, folks, you can root for you can root for anything. Don't let ignorance stop you. Have a good night, folks.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh.